Hi guys and welcome back. So today we're going to be looking a little bit at the Soaring Spite mask. So let's first of all start off with a little bit about them. So the Soaring Spite wage war in an almost exclusively airborne fashion. So they like to be up in the air and very fast and very manoeuvrable. They sort of follow the tenets of the Sky Serpent and its myriad forms. They like to be fast and they like to be everywhere, basically. So how does this transfer onto the tabletop? Well, models with this form can fly, that can fly, or that are embarked upon a transport that can fly, treat all pistol weapons they are equipped with as Assault 1 weapons during a turn in which they, or the transport they are embarked upon, advanced. In addition, these models do not suffer the penalty to their hit rolls for shooting assault weapons during a turn in which they advanced. Quite the mouthful. So this is a weird thing in 40k. For some strange reason, you can carry a large rifle or bolter that has the assault keyword and shoot whilst you run, but you can't shoot a pistol when you run. Yeah, intuitive, right? So yeah, this is a way to mitigate that, and given that your standard troops are only equipped with pistols and no other types of weapon, this is the trait that kind of stops you from having that problem. So you can be sat nice and safe in your clown car and shoot your pistols from there. Now, the obvious choice with this is to take fusion pistols. Now, neurodisruptors have got cheaper. They're still not necessarily the most effective thing. The only thing they really have going for them is their range, which honestly the Soaring Spite doesn't necessarily need. Because if you're advancing and shooting, then even with that 6-inch range, you can melt most people's faces. Now, the thing with this particular trait is, for me, I personally don't think it really adds a huge amount to an army, but it does mitigate the negatives, which is fair enough. So it is the most popular form at the moment. It's seen as the most competitive mask. And yeah, this trait does kind of demonstrate why when we can equip everything with a fusion pistol. Let's have a quick look at the stratagem. Skystride. 1 CP. Use this stratagem just before a Soaring Spite infantry unit consolidates. Instead of moving towards the nearest enemy model, the unit consolidates up to 6 inches towards the nearest Soaring Spite transport from your army. If all models in the unit end this move within 3 inches of the transport, the unit may immediately embark upon it, if it has sufficient capacity remaining, as if it were the movement phase, and can do so even if they disembark from the transport during the same turn. Yeah, situational, but useful in a pinch. You know, if you need to protect your troops from another round of shooting, you know, that's one way of doing it. The boats themselves, it can be quite squishy, so, you know, honestly, if you've already taken a few wounds, then maybe this isn't the right thing. But it can be useful in certain situations. It's not necessarily the most powerful thing. I haven't, if I'm honest, really used it, but yeah, it's alright. Now this is where it gets interesting. So the Warlord traits. Skystrider. Your Warlord can disembark from a transport even after it has moved. So D6 Evolution commented on my last videos for saying you talk about the Ninja Troop Master. This is what they're talking about. So you can take this on a Troop Master or on a Shadow Seer, or a Death Jester if you really want, but I don't see why you would. And basically, you know, you've got a massive threat range. So your Troop Master, you know, you could equip him with, I know, a Kiss and a fusion pistol and send him character hunting. There's not much that would be safe from him. Or you could use him to hang back still a little bit, but use him to keep up with the bike so that he can give them that reroll to wound aura, which could be, you know, very, very useful. It's an interesting one, yeah. With the Shadow Seer as well, sorry, just quickly. With the Shadow Seer, you would disembark him, then cast Twilight Pathways on a bike unit that's already moved to make them move again with the advance roll, and then use Prismatic Blur on them as well. So then you've got a 3-up invuln save and then send them wherever you want to on the table. That's the other thing that you can do with that. Now, it's an interesting one. I think it has its uses. It's very powerful in some ways. If used correctly, it's a really good trait. if used in the wrong way, you're basically just sacrificing your warlord. And I've seen this in a few battle reports as well. I've seen other people do it. I've seen it happen so many times where someone goes, "Oh, fantastic! I can move, 50 odd inches and charge whatever I want," without thinking necessarily whether they should do that, because they just cost themselves a warlord point and all the rest of it. Because they get squished the next turn. Yeah, if you don't support them properly, they get squished. So that would be my little warning sign with that. Yes, you can make him a ninja, but then you're using him as your warlord. And if he's your warlord, he gives up points, which means that in an ITC situation, you don't necessarily want him right there in the middle of everything. So I think this can be more useful, more for like a supporting role, to give other things, those fast-moving bikes, that reroll to wound aura. But I think you can do that in other ways too. Okay, looking at the relic, so if you feel like you need even more movement potential, the Soaring Spike model only, while the wearer is embarked on a Soaring Spike transport, that vehicle may move an additional 6 inches in the movement phase. In addition, if a Soaring Spike transport is destroyed while the wearer is embarked upon it, you do not need to roll any dice to see if any disembarking models are slain or if the transport explodes. They don't die, it doesn't explode, and that's Falchu's talent. Cool, so an extra 6 inches, non-exploding transport, which can sometimes cost you the game if you're not careful, but it's a very situational one with that as well. I don't necessarily know if you really need all that much extra movement. You're already most of the way across the board as it is, and it does cost you a relic slot, which could probably be used on something a bit more effective. That's the Soaring Spike. So what are you going to do with this? What kind of units are you going to take? You're going to take fusion boats. And by that I mean a unit of 5 hard-equipped players, usually with 2 to 4 fusion pistols and maybe a couple of melee weapons. So some people do like 2 caresses and 4 fusion pistols, or 3 caresses and 3 fusion pistols. That tends to be the kind of norm. And then any points that you have left over, you spend on a few buffing characters and some bikes, and probably a solitaire if you can squeeze him in. That's the Soaring Spike. That's this MSU, fast-moving, very, very quick, very powerful mask. It is seen as the most competitive choice at the moment. It isn't, however, what I like to use, personally. There's a couple of reasons for that, which some of you have already heard, but for those of you who are new to the channel, my fusion pistols hate me. I think they genuinely have a problem with me, because they like to roll ones exactly when I need them. I've had an entire boat of 5 fusion pistols, including my troop master, fail to take 2 wounds off a predator. So it just, that random is something that I really don't like. I don't like it because we don't have access to rerolls. If we had access to rerolls, then I would like them. But because we don't, I don't. That's pretty much it. I want to drown my opponents in a load of melee attacks with reroll wounds and potentially even reroll ones to hit, and I want them to see their face as they have to take 20 odd saves from a 5-man unit. That's what I want to see, and it can happen sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. Maybe not 20, but you get what I'm saying. I'd rather force my opponent to take more saves and save myself points, which I can spend on more harlequins. So you might have heard this from a lot of other people talking about, armyless building, how to make effective armies. They always seem to say more boys, less toys, meaning less equipment and more bodies, because survivability is one of those things that is quite important in 40k, particularly as things have progressed, and now we're looking at rules bloat and probably looking at a new edition soon, but currently in this edition, survivability has been a big contributing factor to winning. So I think loading your troops, which are toughness 3, models, 1 wound models, up with 14 points worth of equipment each, is excessive and kind of a trap, personally. Just thinking from the perspective of, I played Drukhari all throughout 7th edition, and I do play them in 8th edition as well. I don't really have them at the moment. If you had like blood, what were they, blood brides or the Hecatrix or whatever it was. Yeah, Hecatrix, that was it. You had a unit of witches, you know, which were very similar in stat line to Harlequins. And you would never have given every single one of them a blast pistol. You just wouldn't. I mean, they weren't allowed to take them, but that's beside the point. You know, you wouldn't give a bunch of toughness 3, 1 wound models, you know, high strength weaponry, because it's damn expensive and they get squashed. So that's just my view on it. However, you know, if you disagree with me, I completely understand. Most of the community does. Yeah, it is considered the most important, the most competitive, the most powerful mask that we have access to. And if you look at my interview with Marcus, I mean, he's the #1 player and he plays Soaring Spite. So, you know, he's doing something right. If you want advice on that one, you know, take a look at that video, have a look at the forums as well. There are plenty of Soaring Spite players that absolutely love the mask, and I can see why. They are powerful. They are competitive. It's just not for me, you know. If I was going to go Soaring Spite, I think I'd be more likely to still try and max out on my bikes, and I might even go for something like a brigade just to up my threat, like my multiple threats essentially. As it is, I tend to prefer the Frozen Stars, but I have tried the Soaring Spite a few times. They've been a bit hit and miss for me, if I'm honest. They have a lot of potential, they have a lot of really good synergies, and, you know, using things like fire and fade on a transport to get them in range with the pistols, to then shoot all the fusion pistols, to melt the face of a demon prince. Those sort of things are amazing. They just never seem to work for me, you know. That's just been my experiences. But if you're a little bit better at rolling than me, or if you just plain love the mask, then, you know, I completely understand if this is your choice of mask. That's it from me on this one for today. So thank you very much, and I'll be back tomorrow with the next mask. So see you later. Bye.